I sent a message to the family group chat, informing them my operation was scheduled for the 12th, and I just needed someone to pick me up afterward. My sister responded almost instantly, scoffing, "Lol, did you really think we'd skip our Cabo trip for that?" My mom followed up with, "Don't try to make us feel bad, this vacation's been set for ages." I replied simply, "My error." But what the nurse revealed when my mom called the hospital later turned their entire Cabo plan upside down. I stared at my phone, blinking to confirm I'd read the messages correctly. My sister, Amber, had fired off her reply right after I'd texted, "Hey, my surgery's on the 12th, just need a lift home. It'll take an hour tops at the medical center. No flair, no fuss, just a straightforward request for help after a routine laparoscopic procedure." Amber's response hit like a jab. Then, as if rubbing salt in the cut, my mom added, "Don't guilt trip us, this trip's been planned forever." I stared at the screen, stunned. All my life, I'd gone out of my way for them, lent cash, paid bills, looked after Nana when no one else would. Yet here I was, asking for a simple ride, and they acted like I was disrupting their grand getaway. I typed back my error, no elaboration, no please, just those two words loaded with 17 years of bottled-up frustration. I figured that was it. I'd book an Uber or ask a neighbor. It wasn't perfect, but I'd manage. What I didn't expect, and neither did they, was that when my mom called the hospital 4 days later to check on me, the nurse shared something that shattered their precious Cabo escape. Amber wasn't always this way. When I was 8, she'd braid my hair and call me her little star. Back then, before Cabo vacations and social media fame, we were tight, or so I thought. But somewhere between her college graduation and her obsession with lifestyle vlogging, I stopped being her sister and became her backup, her ATM, her errand runner. It started small. She forgot her wallet at lunch, so I covered it. Then she double-booked a lash appointment and needed me to grab her dog. I always said yes. Mom was no better. She called me the dependable one, which apparently meant the one they could burden without remorse. When Dad passed at 23, his insurance was split between me and Amber. But when Mom sobbed about the mortgage, I handed over my share. Amber didn't even answer my calls for 2 weeks. When she finally did, she was in Mexico, saying, why didn't you tell me sooner? I already paid for this retreat. I worked extra shifts to cover rent that year. No one noticed. By 31, I had 2 slipped discs, no savings, and an ulcer that sent me to the ER because I'd skipped too many meals to afford rent and meds while still bailing them out. When the doctor said I needed minor surgery, just a laparoscopy to remove a non-cancerous growth, I thought maybe this time they'd show up. It wasn't life or death. I just needed a ride home and someone to stay with me for a few hours after anesthesia. I didn't want to ask friends. I was too ashamed to admit how bad things had gotten. My responsible image didn't include the part where I'd gone into debt fixing Amber's car after she rear-ended a BMW and called me in tears. So I sent the text to the family group chat. And Amber replied with that, "Lol, did you really think we'd skip Cabo for that?" It wasn't just a no, it was a slap. A public declaration that I didn't matter. Mom's follow-up stung worse, "Don't guilt trip us." Like asking for help after being cut open was me playing the victim. I stared at their words for ages. Then I typed my error. I didn't cry, not yet. I just opened my calendar and booked an Uber for 4 p.m. from the surgical center to my place. I'd already arranged for the landlord to hold a key in case anything went wrong. I was prepared. They'd trained me to be. Surgery day came and it went fine. The doctor was gentle. The nurse held my hand as the anesthesia took hold, and when I woke up, groggy and queasy, I checked my phone. Nothing, no, how'd it go? No, we're thinking of you. Amber had posted an Instagram story, sipping from a coconut in a bikini, captioning it, "Manifesting joy, wealth, and sunshine, #Cabo vibes." I vomited into the hospital trash can. The nurse, a kind older woman named Claire, sat with me, rubbing my back. "You all right, honey?" I nodded, eyes wet, just the anesthesia. She gave me water and helped me into a wheelchair. "Your ride's coming," I nodded again. "Uber?" She frowned. "No one's picking you up," I shrugged. They had other plans. She looked concerned but didn't push. Instead, she handed me a pack of crackers. "Keep something in your stomach." I got home, collapsed into bed, pain meds numbing the ache in my gut but not the one in my heart. 3 days later, the call came. I was dozing when my phone rang. Unknown number, but I answered. "Hello? Hi, this is Jessica Martinez." "Yes, this is Mary from Northlake Medical. Your mom called earlier, checking on you. I confirmed your condition per your consent form." My pulse jumped. "Wait, she called the hospital?" "Yes, she was worried, hadn't heard from you. We didn't share much, but she was insistent. I told her the procedure went well and you'd been discharged and took an Uber home. Oh, I said, voice flat. There was a pause. Then Mary said softly she seemed shocked you were alone. I gave a dry, bitter laugh. After we hung up, I checked my phone. Still no texts from Mom or Amber. Then 5 minutes later, my screen lit up. Mom, Jessica, why didn't you tell us you were by yourself? You should have said something. I thought you had someone else. Then another, I called the hospital. That wasn't right. Then Amber, wait, you really did it. Alone? Are you for real? I feel kinda bad now. Not super bad, but you should have said if you were desperate. Desperate. That word burned in my gut like acid. I didn't reply. I archived the WhatsApp chat, but the real shock came the next day. Amber FaceTimed me. I let it ring. She tried again. I picked up. Her face was sun-kissed, hair woven with beads, but her eyes were tense. Hey, she said, voice awkward. I stayed silent. She sighed. Look, I didn't know you'd be alone. I thought you had a friend or something. I asked you. I know, but you didn't make it sound like a big deal. It was surgery. I mean, technically, she said, rolling her eyes, but you're okay now, right? I stared. She bit her lip. Anyway, I talked to Mom. We're thinking of flying back early. Like tomorrow. The energy here's off anyway. I blinked slowly. Because of my surgery? Well, yeah, and Mom's freaking out. She keeps saying we look heartless, which is like extra, but yeah. I leaned closer to the camera, voice deadpan. You don't need to come back. She froze. What? I don't need anything from you, Jessica. I hung up. She called again. I blocked her, but Mom, she did something unexpected. She booked a flight, showed up. I opened the door, still in my robe, stitches sore and tight. She stood there, clutching her purse, eyes watery. I didn't know, she said. You knew. She broke down right there on my doorstep. And that moment, I knew things would never be the same after Cabo. She lingered in the doorway for a full minute, staring at me like I was something delicate she didn't know how to fix. Can I come in? Mom asked, voice small. I didn't answer. Just turned and walked to the couch. If she wanted in, she'd have to face her own shame. The apartment wasn't messy. I'd cleaned yesterday, despite the pain. But I looked rough, hair in a messy bun, sweatpants stained with soup, painkillers, and soda bottles scattered on the table. Mom sat stiffly across from me, purse still gripped like a lifeline. Jessie, I swear I didn't realize you were completely alone. You absolutely did. Her jaw tightened. I thought you'd go through with it without telling us more. You didn't say it was a big deal. I met her gaze. I gave you the date. I said I needed a ride. That was the message. She opened her mouth, closed it. Amber said. Amber laughed. That stopped her cold. For a moment she shifted, glancing around like she needed a cue. We just thought you were blowing it out of proportion. You've always been so self-sufficient. You mean silent. I mean capable. No, you mean convenient. You mean I've never forced you to face your responsibilities. Mom flinched. That's not fair. No, Mom, what's not fair is you saying, don't guilt trip us. When I asked for one ride after years of holding this family together like it was my duty, I grabbed the pharmacy receipt and tossed it at her. That's $312 in meds I paid for myself because I couldn't use the family insurance anymore. The one you said we'd share after Dad died. Guess who maxed it out with Amber's cosmetic treatments? Mom's face drained of color. That's not true. It is. I checked with the provider. She hit the limit last month. She blinked fast, then whispered. She said it was for headaches. She said it was at a Beverly Hills salon. Her mouth opened. Closed, opened again like a fish gasping for air. Then she broke down. You don't know what it's like being her mother, she said, voice shaking. It's not easy. She's Amber needs so much. And you, I wasn't supposed to need anything, was I? The silence was deafening. She looked down. You never complained, because complaining changed nothing. Then my own walls cracked. Do you know what it felt like? Waking up in that hospital bed alone? In pain, disoriented, with the nurse holding my hand because my family was lounging by a pool, her eyes filled. Jessica, I'm sorry. No, you're not sorry. You're scared. You're scared of how it looks. That your friends, neighbors, or aunts might find out what kind of mother you really are. She sobbed. That's not true. It is, I said sharply. You're here because you got caught. She buried her face in her hands. I watched for a moment, then stood. You should leave. Her head snapped up. Jess, please, I'm exhausted. My stitches ache. And your guilt isn't helping. She stood, clutching her purse like it was all she had left. What now? Where do we go from here? I looked her in the eye. I don't know, but not back, never back. She left. The next day, Amber showed up. I didn't open the door. She knocked for 5 minutes straight. Then texted, let me in, we need to talk. Then I cut Cabo short by 2 nights. Came back early. Be thankful, be thankful. Like it was a favor. I opened the door not to let her in, but to face her. She stood there in airport sweats, designer sunglasses propped on her head like a tiara. Her face was half worried, half annoyed. God, you look awful, thanks. Surgery does that. She blinked. Look, this got way out of hand, okay? I didn't mean to come off harsh. I was joking. I thought you had people, friends, nurses or something. I asked you. She sighed like I was being difficult. Jess, you know how big that trip was. It was sponsored. A brand deal. I had to post content. I was in a hospital bed, and I said sorry. What more do you want? I stared at this woman, my blood, my stranger. I want you to own it. That you never planned to show up. She tilted her head. I didn't think I needed to, and there it was, the truth. Amber never thought she owed me anything, not a ride, not a text, not a single thought in her polished, perfect life. You're right, I said softly, you didn't. And I don't owe you anything anymore either. Her face twisted. What's that mean? I held up my phone. It means I contacted your sponsor and told them what happened. Her face went white. I told them the truth, that you mocked your sister's surgery and used their wellness trip to dodge a family medical emergency. I sent screenshots. Her voice spiked. You didn't. They dropped the campaign. Amber stumbled like I'd hit her. You cost me 10 grand. You cost me a decade. She opened her mouth. I closed the door, and this time it stayed closed. The quiet after the chaos was sharp, like cold coffee left on the counter too long. I sat by the window, watching a dreary afternoon stretch across the sky. For the first time in years, I felt something like freedom. Amber didn't message again. Her Instagram went silent. Her last post, her by a pool with #grateful, vanished a day after I emailed her sponsor. I didn't check if she salvaged her $10,000. I didn't care. A few days later, the clinic sent a letter. Brief, formal, but vital. Miss Martinez, we've refunded $312 to your account. Per policy, unauthorized use of your shared plan has been addressed. Amber had tapped my insurance again. That refund meant they caught her. And this time it was done. Mom tried to creep back into my life. First, the texts. Can we talk? I didn't sleep. I feel awful. I was a terrible mother. For a moment, I thought it might be real regret. But then came the pivot. You've always been so distant. I just wanted harmony between my daughters. You're making me feel like I failed. So I sent one line. If it hurts, it's because you're finally seeing clearly. Then I blocked her. 3 weeks later, my cousin Jane texted. You okay? I replied honestly. Yes, finally. She sent a heart emoji, then added. Just FYI, your mom and Amber are saying you had a breakdown, that you're lashing out. I laughed, out loud. Sitting on my new turquoise couch, still tender from surgery, still mending from years of silence. I laughed. Let them spin their story. Let them scramble. I didn't care anymore, because for once I was done playing their game. I went back to work weeks later. My boss, gruff as ever, just said, take all the time you need. You're solid. More kindness in one sentence than my family gave me in a decade. I changed my apartment locks. I sold the old couch, the one Amber sprawled on when her latest breakup was too much to handle alone. I got a new one, turquoise, sturdy but soft, like a reset. I bought a coffee maker, nothing fancy but mine. I signed up for pottery classes, always wanted to. 2 weeks in, I held my first mug, uneven, a bit rough but real, and I loved it. Then something unexpected. The clinic receptionist called. Her voice was cautious. Jessica, just a heads up. Your mom tried to list you as her emergency contact again. You're not per your request, but thought you should know. I nodded, hung up. I contacted an attorney. We crafted a formal document stating I would no longer bear any financial burden for my mother or Amber. I signed it with a steady hand. Love, but no more funds. 2 months later, an email appeared in my inbox from an unfamiliar Facebook profile. Hi, I'm Jake, Amber's ex. This might seem out of nowhere, but I saw what you did. I saw how they responded. And I think you're the first person to ever hold them accountable. Thank you. You made me feel less alone in my frustration. I cried. Not from pain, but because someone finally acknowledged it. I saw it too. You're not irrational. You're not isolated. I've never put much stock in new beginnings. Not truly. But maybe this wasn't a start. Maybe it was an ending. A long overdue closing of doors that should have been locked years ago. I wake up now without that heavy weight. I don't check my phone for apologies that never arrive. I brew coffee in my kitchen, sit by the window in my turquoise chair, and I breathe. And I smile. Because for the first time, my life feels truly mine. It's been 4 months. 4 months since I asked for a ride and got mocked. 4 months since I lay in a hospital bed, trembling from anesthesia, realizing the only hands holding mine belonged to strangers. 4 months since I typed 2 words, my error, and watched my old world collapse. And it was the best choice I've ever made. I don't miss them. That's what shocked me most. I thought cutting ties would feel like mourning, like losing a part of myself, but it felt more like peeling off dead, stifling skin I'd been trapped in for years. My days are calmer now, but also vibrant in the right ways. I hear my own thoughts again. I sleep soundly. I no longer tense up when my phone pings, because it doesn't ping with guilt. It doesn't ring with demands. There's no one calling to beg for bailouts, to clean up their chaos, to drop everything and serve. Amber still tries occasionally. Last week she used a new number to text. "You wrecked my career. Satisfied now?" And I read it and grinned, because yes, I'm satisfied now. I've started writing again, just for myself, mostly journaling. Processing the truths I never let myself voice. Like I was the fall guy, not the pillar. Being needed isn't the same as being valued. Forgiveness without accountability just breeds more hurt. Heavy truths, messy ones, but essential. I've been redecorating too. Every corner of this apartment that once carried the weight of silent sacrifice now holds pieces of me, plants I'll probably neglect. Art I bought just because it sparked joy. That uneven mug from pottery class, it's my favorite now. It reminds me that flaws can still hold warmth. I bumped into my old high school friend Maya last week at the market. She asked about my family, and I said they're there. Where they belong, far away. She blinked, then smiled like she saw more than she let on. "I always wondered how you stayed so composed growing up," she said. "Now I see it. You weren't composed, you were enduring." That struck me harder than it should have, because she was right. I was never the composed one. I was the restrained one, the silenced one, the expected one. Not anymore. Here's my message to you. If you're reading this, and your family equates love with guilt, duty, or self-sacrifice, if they make you feel selfish for needing help, for saying no, for setting limits, if you've ever stayed up wondering if you're the problem because they treat you like one, you're not. You're not broken. You're not dramatic. You're not cruel. You're done. And done is powerful, because done doesn't mean bitter. It means reborn. The final message I sent my family was this: I hope one day you see what you lost. But even if you don't, I haven't lost myself. Not anymore. And for the first time in my life, I meant every word. The ride I needed never came. But I still made it home. On my own, stronger, free.